Hello, we're in Granby, Massachusetts. We're at the North Cemetery, also called the Bachelor Street Cemetery. And it's a cemetery that was made in the year 1764. And Granby itself was constructed out of South Hadley in 1768, 4 years later. And the West Street Cemetery was made in 1769 as a town cemetery. So this cemetery is 5 years older than the only other cemetery in Granby. And it must have been made for a different reason because for 4 years it was in South Hadley. Right? This is part of South Hadley. And it could have been made for two reasons. One reason, it could have been a religious group nearby, or it could have been a family graveyard that transformed into a neighborhood graveyard. Okay, so if you look at the situation, half the people buried in this cemetery are from the Clark family. And it could thus be a Clark family cemetery with other neighborhood burials in it. Hey, pause it. Again. Okay, now at this cemetery here, it has a plaque on it. It says North Cemetery, earliest burial, 1764. This tablet made possible by the Women's Guild Church of Christ Congregational Bicentennial, 1776 to 1976. And below it, in the stone, is engraved North Cemetery. Now, this cemetery here is a very important cemetery. It's confirming what was going on. Had a cemetery before the actual town cemetery, which is West Street. And I've already talked about the Clark family is about halfway represented inside here. You know, if there's 500 burials, like 200 of them are Clark, are related to Clark somehow. But family cemetery. What it is was that the Clark family got away from Northampton and got away from Hadley, the two colonial towns that were the predecessor towns, and many around here. Now, what were they trying to get away from? They wanted to be Baptist, and they wanted to get away from the Congregationalists. And that's true of a lot of cemeteries. When you find them, if they're the earliest in a town, and they're not the town cemetery, then it's probably a Baptist cemetery. So the Clark family lived nearby. In fact, they lived about a half mile to the east on this Bachelor Street. And they lived on a farm. I think that this graveyard was right at the edge of their farm, and their house, which is still there, was on the other end. And they used it for a church graveyard for anyone that wanted to be the Baptist. And that's happened also in South Hadley, it happened in Holyoke, it happened in Chicopee, it happened in East Longmeadow. The Baptists escaped from the Congregationalists in order to honor their own religion, their own way. And when they set up, they needed churches and graveyards, and they didn't have them necessarily. A lot of their churches was in homes, and the graveyards, like this one, were far away from the western town because they wanted to be away from it. So this was the Deacon Clark's graveyard that he started. And the first two burials were his young children. They both died in Wilbraham because in 1760s he had moved away from this area. He had been here during the 1750s. In the early 1760s, he moved away. But when two of his children died in 1764 in Wilbraham, he selected to have them buried on the family farm because this is where the Baptist denomination that he had started up was located. And so they are buried in this cemetery, and one of those children's gravestone is still here. So I'm giving a tour here this year, and I hope you come hear about this and many other wonderful features. Thank you.